All right, so on the program this morning, we're looking at CVFF and the imperatives for competitiveness of Nigerian shipping. Now, for those who are not very much familiar with this industry, the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund is a fund that was established as far back as 2004, and up till date, the disbursement of that fund for the purpose for which it was meant is yet to materialize. And so it sounded like some good news when the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy announced about 3 weeks back that this year the agency that's the apex regulatory agency in the maritime sector, NIMASA, will commence disbursement of this fund by the month of August. During a stakeholders meeting last week, the DG, that's the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Dayo Mubiriola, he spoke about the benefits of this particular fund, and he said a whole lot about how this will transform things in the maritime sector. Let's hear him briefly.
Every vessel that is going to be purchased through this fund would replace those foreign vessels. And when you replace a foreign vessel, it means that your income, your taxes, you are going to recruit Nigerian seafarers, you are going to recruit Nigerian technicians. Every business you are going to do is going to be within a Nigerian ambience. So it is going to generate revenue for the government. It is going to generate employment for the teeming youth of Nigeria, as well as create profit opportunity for the shipping companies.
All right, so that's Dr. Dayo Mubiriola, who is the DG of NIMASA, speaking of the benefits or perhaps the immense opportunities that we have with this fund. But let's get a clearer understanding of how all of this will be done and the impact that will make to Nigeria. So let's bring in someone who is a stakeholder in this particular sector. Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho is former Minister for the Interior and the Chairman, Genesis Worldwide Shipping Services. He's connecting with us on the phone line this morning. Captain Iheanacho, it's nice to have you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Cherry. It's nice to be on your program.
Great. All right. I know that we spoke with you sometime last year, and I know that at that time we were, dwelling a bit on some of the positives, that are coming out from this. Now, when you hear the news of this disbursement of the CVFF fund, this must sound like good news to you, good music to the ears, right?
Well, it is indeed a good news that the decision has been taken to move forward with the disbursements, subject to people being qualified and subject to people submitting bankable feasibility proposals for buying vessels. So it is indeed a very good news.
And were you surprised that the news is coming at this time? I mean, this is not the first time we're hearing of the disbursement of the fund.
Yeah, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Just remember that we've heard about the disbursement of the funds being imminent, but nobody has actually accessed it as yet. Remember also the historical context. We are coming from 21 years ago. It's a long time for us to be there. And remember that time does not stand still for anyone. So in 21 years, what is happening? Is the shipping sector going to stand still so that we can catch up with our responsibilities and our aspirations with respect to cabotage? The shipping sector as a whole continues to move forward. And so unless we devise a means which would allow us to overcome any problems that we have with the cabotage sector, at the same time also jump on board the significant and extraordinary changes that are sweeping the shipping world, then we would say we have lost. So there is a lot to be done. The announcement has been made. The disbursement has to go ahead. And in tandem with that, it's a requirement for us also to follow through with all other developments with respect to shipping and the trade.
Right. All right, Captain Iheanacho, this is not the first time we are talking about this. And this is not the first time announcements have been made on the proposed disbursement of the fund. I mean, in 2023, the former DG of NIMASA, that's Dr. Bashir Jamal, also made the same announcement where he stated that $700 million will be, handed out any moment from then. That never came to light. Before then, the Minister for Transportation in 2022, that's Honorable Muazu, he also talked about that as well, that the CVFF will soon be disbursed, which never came to light. In 2020, the then Minister for Transportation, Honorable Rotimi Amechi, also said the same thing. So, is it not going to be the same? Is it not going to be a case of the same script, different cast?
Well, it's not something that we can pronounce upon authoritatively. We are not God. You have a very good grasp of the historical context, because you've actually just reeled out what had happened year by year, people promising that this money was going to be disbursed, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't disbursed. So what we have to do at this point in time is to pray that this latest pronouncement really goes along with proper implementation, and that we eventually get to the point where Nigerians are able to buy vessels that they can field, not just in the cabotage trades, but in the shipping and international trade generally.
Right. So break it down for our listeners. For those who are just joining us, they might not have heard of CVFF before. What is the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund all about?
Well, the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund is a fund that took over from the Ship Acquisition and Shipbuilding Fund of the old NMA, which is really a fund that is accrued by people who use shipping services, and they pay a certain percentage of the freight into a fund. And the idea really is to be able to accrue these funds, and so be able to empower Nigerians who wish to buy ships but otherwise do not have the resources to spend on those vessels.
Right.
So that's what the CVFF is. CVFF took over from SASBF, and from what you have said, there would be nearly 700 million USD in the kitty.
Right.
Everything is subject to people being able to generate bankable feasibility studies and proposals for buying vessels that can be used in Nigeria's cabotage trades, and I add, in Nigeria's international trade as a whole.
So how will this boost Nigerian shipping?
Well, I mean, it will boost Nigerian shipping if you also listen to the comments of Dr. Dayo Mugeriola when he spoke earlier on. He told you exactly the benefits that the economy stands to gain from our deeper involvement in the ownership and operation of shipping. So we don't look at ships as things that sail into Nigerian ports and sail back out. We understand that they create a platform that Nigerian people can work on. They stimulate a trade, because there are trades where people will say, well, we cannot import Nigerian goods unless there are ships that can go there. So they actually stimulate Nigerian trade. They also impact upon the level of freight trade. So if you have a trade where people are charging huge amounts and absolutely ripping Nigerian shippers up in terms of the freights that they are charging, then Nigerian operators can come in there with their ships and then charge a lesser amount than these people. So there's so many things that can be gotten from there. Transfer of technology, showing the Nigerian flag, demonstrating that we are capable of doing some of these things.
Right. So lots of positives to take away from this disbursement. You are an indigenous shipper, Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho. I'm looking at the amount here, $700 million. Is that sufficient to begin the disbursement?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we should be looking at a particular amount that is sufficient or not sufficient. The idea really is for us to start. So if really and truly speaking, $700 million is available, $700 million can buy a whole lot of ships. The important thing is that the ship that you buy must have value equivalent to the money that you spend. So $700 million, as long as it's not wasted, will buy $700 million worth of vessels that can be used in Nigeria's trade, both in the cabotage, middle trades, and the international trade. And this will generate a lot of economic benefits, employment opportunities, technology transfer opportunities, so many things that can really be garnered from these investments.
All right. So we cannot wait for this to empower indigenous shippers, but how do we ensure now that those that will benefit from this are not going to be, subjected to very, very rigorous and hard, or perhaps very, very challenging terms that might not really be able to make them actualize their dream of owning these ships? I'm looking at the primary lending institutions, for instance. Before now, the proposal was to have 5 banks. Now, Dr. Dayo Mobrela did say that we're going to be having about 12 banks that will be involved in this. So what's your take in all of this? Do we need so many banks?
Well, yes, we actually needed that many banks. The truth of the matter is I would have liked a situation where every bank that thinks it has the capacity to administer this process is allowed to participate. If you choose only 12 out of so many banks that are in the country, what is the criteria for choosing some and dropping the others? So if there is a bank and they have passed the true test that the CBN administers on them before they give them licenses to practice at banks, you would be forgiven if you assumed then that they would have the necessary means and capacity to vet those who are coming to borrow money on the SASBF. Now, on the CVFF, rather. Now, you talked about you hope that they're not going to subject people to very rigorous screening process. They are going to have to do that. This is not really money that everybody can come and you rush in. It's all right. He's a local guy. Let him have the money, and then tomorrow we'll say, the money is lost.
Right.
We have to really find out the capacity of that person to actually do what they say they are going to do in their feasibility proposal and to create net value for the Nigerian economy overall.
Before now, I know you've been talking about the interest rates that banks, borrow money or perhaps lend to indigenous ship owners in Nigeria, even before the commencement of this CVFF fund. What should be the interest rate for this particular fund?
Well, that is a very interesting question. Shipping is an international business. And so if we really want to be competitive, we want to be able to bring our people to the same level and to the same level as their international competitors, vis-a-vis monies that are borrowed, the rates at which and terms at which those monies are borrowed. Unfortunately, it's nearly impossible for anybody to borrow money at the rate at which money is lent in the Nigerian economy as a whole. So, for instance, if you wanted to borrow money for trading now, you probably would be looking at about between 30 and 35%,
right,
which is a whole lot of money. But in countries where shipping has developed, money is borrowed at the rate of not more than 8%. So if he is borrowing money at 8% and you are borrowing at 35%, you are dead on arrival. So it is very important that we put in place structures that really would make sure that we stand on the same pedestal as the guys that we want to compete with in trade.
Right. Anyway, so I think the good news is that the DG of NIMASA has also revealed that it's going to be a single-digit interest rate. So that should sound like good music to indigenous players as relates to this fund. And I hope that will be actualized as well. Just give me 1 minute. This is Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. And this morning we're looking at CVFF and the imperatives for competitiveness of Nigerian shipping. And guesting on the phone this morning, Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, who is a former Minister for the Interior, and he's also the Chairman, Genesis Worldwide Shipping Services. We're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, we'll look at the tenure of this particular fund, CVFF, and of course the kind of impact or perhaps the transformation that the CVFF will bring to Nigeria. All that and much more we'll be reflecting on. Plus, we'll be hearing from you as well, and that will be on 080-99-120-777.
From A to B, from A to B, from north to south, from north to south, from east to west, from east to west, from port to port, from port to port. You can ship your goods and feel good too. Oh yeah, Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline 0818-888-8895. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the port of your needs.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Maritime Today is the program, and I see here with me Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, former Minister for the Interior and Chairman Genesis Worldwide. And we're looking at CVFF, the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, and of course we're looking at the imperatives for competitiveness for Nigerian shipping. All right, so Penn Cinema, I understand, is still looking good. The bridge itself looking pretty good from our live cameras. We can tell you that Latif Jack on the Road is also receiving with good vehicular flow. Testing ground connecting Kudirat Abiola Way Junction as well as Allen intersection, all looking good all the way to Ikeja. Same for return journey as well. And the major connecting routes, Ikorodu Road linking up with the island, that entire stretch looks good, but you need to watch out for intermittent slowness as well. Captain Iheanacho, let's get back to the conversation. So the tenure for this CVFF fund, as revealed by NIMASA, is that it's going to take about 8 years. Is that too long a time or too short a time?
Well, it's actually, I would expect that is something that has arisen from historical practice. So it used to be the case that the OEs, it's the, I'm trying to remember what international body that was responsible for determining these matters. They lent money to people who bought ships at 8% and for 8 years. That's the historical perspective.
Okay.
And so I think that is exactly where NIMASA may have gotten their 8 years from. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's really a correct time. 8 years is really quite some time for you to make your mark and convince people that you know what you're doing, that you are able to run a successful shipping enterprise.
Right, and he has talked about moratorium, and that's a kind of 2-year window that will be free for repayment. So what do you make of that? Is that also part of it?
I think that any moratorium that is given in terms of when you start repaying is really a plus for the person who's borrowing that money. So if the CVFF comes with a 2-year moratorium, then I think that's really quite a commendable gesture on the part of the NIMASA.
All right, so some observers are already having their talks, and they're saying, look, they want to ensure that this shouldn't be a case of, doing rewards or giving rewards to cronies and those who might not be in the sector. So what do you think NIMASA needs to do urgently to ensure that those who are really qualified will get this fund?
Well, I mean, they have to be very diligent in their assessment of those who come before them. They have to have the capacity to look really deeply into the plans that are put before them, and they have to be able to determine whether these plans are feasible or not. Remember that shipping, whether shipping in the cabotage, in the middle trades or international trade, is part of trade. And so, you cannot come there and fool anybody who's looking at the numbers. If the numbers don't add up, if the trade is not there, then, of course, you will simply tell the person who's trying to borrow to say, we've looked at your numbers and we don't see that this is possible. So they have to be very diligent in their assessment of those who come before them to try and borrow this money.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM 08099120777 and 09153877127. If you're wondering who I'm speaking with, Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, former Minister for the Interior, that's right here in Nigeria, and he is also a very, very renowned stakeholder in the maritime sector. He is a player there too. He's an indigenous shipper. He's been doing that for several years. All right, I have some questions coming in here for you. This one says, hello. It says, Captain Iheanacho, what's the core idea behind the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF? Sheung Ibrahim, Sheung, thank you so much. We talked about that severally on this program. Another one here says, amazing morning to the traffic radio crew. It says, why has the release of CVFF fund taken so long in your view? Iheanacho from Mile 2 is asking that question. Captain.
All right. Well, so there are two questions. One is what is the idea behind establishing a special fund there to lend to people so that they can buy vessels that they can field in international trade, in our cabotage trade. Shipping as a business is a very highly capital intensive business. And we have always complained that we are not able to compete with lots of people who are dominating our business. And one of the specific complaints is that people cannot find the huge resources that are required to buy vessels to trade in our waters. To give you an example of the kind of resources that you require. So if you are in the tanker trade, for instance, and you are involved in freighting cargoes, say from Dangote refinery to Apapa port, or from Apapa port to Port Harcourt to Warri and places like that,
Right.
you would require the resources to be able to buy at least a middle range tanker vessel. A middle range tanker vessel is about 49,000 deadweight vessel. So if you wanted to buy one that was, say, maybe about 10 years old,
Right.
you would need to find about $32 million, between $32 million and $35 million. So it's not a business for small people. So historically, that had been the drawback for our people, finding the money to buy the ships and finding the money to continue to run them, because most of the spare parts and things that you use to run those ships are imported. So that's why it was decided that we would task those who are using the service, and they will be putting down some money, and then at the end of the day, once enough money is accrued, then people will be able to borrow from it. That is the idea.
Right.
So that is how that thing started.
So it's going to be
The
very
question
beneficial.
as to how long it has taken for this money to be disbursed is really not one for me to answer.
Okay.
You know, there are political considerations, there are market considerations, there's so many factors that come into play. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to be sure that they are not blamed for wasting money that had taken so long to accrue. So when they say, you disburse it, say, yes, we are going to disburse it. Then after some time, you find that a year later, the person leaves there and he didn't disburse the money. So we really applaud the DG on seat currently for having the guts and the capacity to go forward to say, yes, on my conviction and on my watch, we are going to disburse this, and we are going to work very hard to ensure that what he has done is successful.
All right. So in terms of competitiveness, so will this really improve our competitiveness?
Well, it would to a certain extent, because the disadvantage that we had with respect to resource availabilities will no longer be there. We will be able to now buy a ship. We will now be able to have some working capital to be able to work the ship. The other way that our competitiveness will show would be in disparity that exists in the wages that are paid to Nigerians vis-a-vis wages that are drawn by foreigners who work on ships. So we can actually make do with a fraction of that wages, and that can be parlayed into more competitive rates that we can offer to people who
are working in the sector.
Service.
Right.
Yes.
All right. This one says, Captain, do you think Nigeria is doing enough to build local capacity in maritime logistics? B is sending this one in from Ogba. B, thank you so much.
Yes, Nigeria is trying its best, but there is still room for it to actually improve. So, for instance, you did say that we started talking about the cabotage more than 20 years ago, and now we're still talking about the cabotage. But the point that we must imbibe is that the developments in shipping is not waiting for the guy who's waiting for cabotage.
Right.
They are marching forward. So different types of ships are being built, autonomous vessels are being built, automatic vessels that use different types of fueling system.
Right.
So we really need to be able to deal with the cabotage issue and put it behind us, and then jump onto the international trade vessels and be able to compete in that arena as well.
Okay. We have to round this off right now. And I must say, Emeka, I see your question. I just cannot take it because of time. If you're sending in another question as well, I do appreciate you. Ahmed, you're all sending in questions that we cannot take right now, but we have to go. Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, so by August, we should be very hopeful that this fund will be disbursed, right?
I beg your pardon. What was the question?
I said by August, we should be very hopeful that a new light of dawn will be brought to Nigeria as relates to this CVFF fund, right?
Absolutely. We are absolutely hopeful. We are praying and we're supporting the DG in his effort to make a headway with this ship acquisition and shipbuilding fund issue.
All right.
I call it shipper. It's actually CVFF, the CVFF issue.
Right.
We are supporting him fully, and we're hoping that come August or even before then, the first set of disbursements would have gone out.
All right. By God's grace, we'll be here. And of course, we'll be there to speak with you at the time when disbursement commences. Thank you so much for connecting with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terry. It's always nice to be on your program. Thank you. Take care now.
All right. Okay, then. So I've been speaking with Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, who is, of course, an indigenous shipper of several years standing. He is also the former Minister for the Interior and Chairman, Genesis Worldwide Shipping Services. We have to go. The program has been produced by Temidayo Anthony. Maximum shout out going out to Rebecca Adamu, who's Assistant Director of Public Relations for the Nigerian Shippers Council. In the studios this morning, Esther Alo, and maximum shout out going out to Kwemi Shodunke of our social media unit. Our executive producer is Tayo Akonle. My name is Victor Terry. Connect with the Shippers Council on all their platforms at NG Shippers. Bye.
From A to B, from A to B, from north to south, from north to south, from east to west, from east to west, from port to port, from port to port. You can ship your goods and feel good too. Oh yeah, Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline 0818-888-8895. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the port of your needs.